Welcome back to 23rd and Dissent.
Hello, I'm Ty.
I'm Anna. No last names. We do have last names, but if you know,
It's
you know.
only for the government to know. So how you been?
It's been well. It was Halloween.
What'd you do for Halloween?
I watched movies. I ate burger from Burger Punk. On the, I guess technically third episode, full-length episode of this, and we started off by just posting clips of our first episode on TikTok, and that was roughly a week ago, and we've already hit 1,000 followers, which in TikTok terms is like, you know, pocket change.
But yeah, thank you for supporting. Thank you for commenting and sharing and following. We really appreciate your support. What do you want to get into first?
So for all the Oklahomies out there, we have a representative, JJ Humphrey. JJ stands for, one of the names is Justin. Second J could be anything. John, Jack, Jeffrey, doesn't matter.
Jennifer,
Justin Jennifer Humphrey. He's from Lane, Oklahoma.
that sounds like
Down southeast.
So the sticks. He's from the sticks.
He's from the sticks. But Representative JJ Humphrey is what I've been calling a walking conundrum, because this man is so confusing. He'll say things that's like, "No, we shouldn't have said that," and then he'll do things that I'm like, okay, actually, maybe let's listen to what he has to say. If the name sounds familiar to you, you might remember him from earlier this year. He tried to run a piece of legislation that would like ban furries in public schools, and I'm just like, I didn't realize that they were a political issue like that. His name still sounds familiar, but it's not from the furries thing. In 2021, some emails of his, I believe, were leaked where he called...
What did he say?
He basically said that if you're transgender, you have mental illness. And so that's not fun or good at all. And maybe just like, don't say that. Why he's a conundrum, he's calling for an OSBI investigation into the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. So that's been something that's being talked about a lot recently.
Why is it calling for an investigation?
Well, from our friends at KOCO5 News.
Are they our friends?
If you go to Fox 25 for weather, you're going to die.
What?
The reporting is not accurate.
You said you're gonna die.
It's not that it's not accurate. You know, there's tons of money into fucking meteorology and shit. But I don't know the meteorologist's name. He's just lackluster. Like, I watch it and I feel nothing. Like, I want to feel something if you're telling me about the weather. And, okay, I've never been to Southeast Oklahoma, but I've seen pictures and it do look pretty. And I know that a lot of people like to go to Broken Bow, which I'm not sure how close that is, but apparently it's really fucking pretty if people want to go out there and go camping and shit. People
talk shit about like Oklahoma and how there's like nothing to do here, but there's actually a lot of like beautiful scenery, like a lot of beautiful wilderness that we have. You just have to drive.
I know. And I think one of the unique things about Oklahoma that I really love is we have so many different just ecosystems and climates and geographical regions. Like if you're in Tulsa, there's a lot of like rocks and hills and places to climb, and it's called green country because it rains significantly, or maybe not significantly, at least a little bit more than it does down here in red dirt country.
Where's the desert at? That's in the Panhandle, right?
The Panhandle and western Oklahoma, far western Oklahoma. So we literally have Black Mesa in the state, which is a beautiful sight to behold, and I would love to go there one day. But the Panhandle kind of scares me. But that's a subject for a different day. So we've got the deserts, we've got the Wichitas, we've got the old Ozarks, and we've got literally the central part of the state is what they call the cross timbers, because it's the transition from the prairie and sort of like open plains that one may, I guess, lump in with Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the damn plains.
If you're going on a day trip in Oklahoma, where are you going?
I really do like Turner Falls. If it's the summertime, Turner Falls is beautiful. And there's also a river, I think it's in Sulfur, that you can kind of just float down. I just get scared as a non-white person, and I have to go into like a Walmart in a town I've never heard of.
I don't know what it's called, but it's right outside of, what are those? It's like those, it's down in Lawton next to Medicine Park. It's not Robert's Cave.
Robbers Cave is like
No, it's like
Arkansas.
It has like pools and stuff and like caves that you can go in.
I don't know this.
Fuck, I know.
Caves and stuff.
Yes, it's literally it's like called something Turner Falls.
I literally brought that up. I
you
said if I'm in the city and I want to go somewhere in the day and it's summertime, Turner Falls or Sulfur. Waterfall?
Yes.
Beautiful,
okay.
gorgeous.
But it's not
Gorgina.
it's not Turner Falls. It's right next to Turner Falls. It's called Little something.
That I don't know. You're going to have to do more
Little
digging for
it's
that.
Little Niagara. That's what it's called. Little Niagara near Lawton, Oklahoma is amazing. It's so beautiful. We went to Little Niagara. Oh shit, I don't know if this is legal.
I don't know if this is legal.
But we got really drunk and then tried to get in the river and I almost fucking broke them. We all almost broke our necks.
Okay, so when I was first mentioning that I floated the river in Sulfur, I was too also going to address the fact that I was under the influence. This culture of let's get super drunk and go to the lake. No, I do not want to be dehydrated on the lake. I just want to drink water and I want to float and I want to maybe catch a fish with my bare hand.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Why do they pour the fucking drinks in the neighborhood so damn heavy? Do you know what? I'm not going to name drop him, but you know the bartender at...
No, because I don't drink and I don't go out because I'm scared.
Anybody who frequents knows the bartender there. And do you want to know what he told me my first time inside of... This man is going to look at me. I think I ordered like a vodka cranberry or something. And
lowest calorie drink you can get.
Do you know what he did? He poured me a triple. He was like, here, he
wanted you to die that night.
I was like, I have to drive back. This is when I lived in Choctaw. I was like, sir, I have to drive to Choctaw. He looks at me and he says, yeah, around here we pour triples unless you ask us not to. Sir, you gave me rubbing alcohol.
When COVID first hit and like hand sanitizer was fucking sold out, and so
people were making it.
Yeah, people were making it themselves, and companies were like, shit, let's just buy tequila. Like when we would go to the county courthouse to do what we do, you'd hit the little hand sanitizer thing and you just smell like straight tequila for hours. It's disgusting.
Do you remember that company had to come out and say like,
don't drink it?
They were like, people were trying to make hand sanitizer with our alcohol, and he was like, just to let you know, like it was a high percentage of alcohol, but he was like, even though it's a high percentage, this is not the right product to make hand sanitizer, so do not do it.
Isopropyl alcohol that you need.
I don't fucking know.
When did you turn 21?
In 2021.
Okay. I turned 18 in 2020. No. Did not turn 18 in 2020. I turned 18.
I said, Anna, why the fuck you lying?
I turned 18 in 2014. And at the time, it was legal for 18-year-olds to buy tobacco products. And then it was when I was like 23.
I was 18.
Whenever they changed it to 21. And I just remember thinking like, God bless those poor bastards. Imagine you're fucking fully addicted to cigarettes as a 19-year-old, and then they just up and change the age requirement.
That actually is kind of fucked up.
You're just like fucking going cold turkey because you don't have anybody old enough to buy it for you.
Pornhub is banned.
You didn't know?
Pornhub is banned in Oklahoma.
You have to provide like your legal ID to confirm that you are in fact over 18.
For users, as you may know, your elected officials in Oklahoma are sorry.
Help me! I spilled it.
Did I get that on camera? Yes.
It's still covered in water. Oh my God, I'm wet.
It's
just felt appropriate because we're talking about pornography. But okay, yeah, someone was saying that like laws like this increase the likelihood of people who aren't 18 going to the fucking dark web to find porn and like finding the wrong kinds, the illegal kinds.
Till a real solution is offered, we have made the difficult decision to completely disable access to our website in Oklahoma. Please contact your representative before it's too late and demand device-based verification solutions that make the internet safer while also respecting your privacy.
Yeah, so earlier this year, the legislature passed a bill, I guess Governor Stitt signed it, that would require this. You have to upload legal documentation to verify that you are in fact over 18. It's like that one video, I think it was a Vine, that she's like, no, stop, don't tell mom. Sister found her like watching videos of boys making out on YouTube.
What are the requirements to purchase a handgun?
I don't know, but let's find out. But to buy a handgun in Oklahoma, okay, I feel like this is a really good resource. It's called the NRA. To know about handgun laws.
Literally go to the source.
Oklahoma gun laws says permit to purchase shotguns and rifles, no. Handguns, no. Registration of firearms, no and no. Licensing of owners, no and no. Permit to carry, no and no. It's scary whenever you Google, like, how do I buy a gun? And they're like, this is how you buy a gun. Okay, so in 2013, we had open carry reform. 2014, we had enhanced background checks for concealed carry. 2015, expanded self-defense rights. 2016, firearm preemption law. Strengthened preemption laws to prevent local jurisdictions from enacting firearm regulations that exceed state laws. 2017, enhanced penalties for gun crimes. 2018, constitutional carry enactment. 2019, enhanced reporting on mental health and firearms access. 2020, stand your ground law implemented. 2021, background check enhancements for all sales. 2022, firearm storage guidelines discussion. 2022 again, school safety measures. Mental health crisis intervention, firearm waiting period proposal, enhanced oversight of firearm sales. So essentially, yeah, it's far too easy to buy a gun. Do they still sell guns in Walmart?
Yes, I believe they do. They sell them at Walmart, Bass Pro. I don't think Target sells firearms.
Okay, yeah. So no permit is required for purchase of rifles or shotguns. Registration is also not necessary. License of ownership is not required. A permit is not required to carry rifles or shotguns. That reminds me. Okay, so Timothy McVeigh, after he committed the OKC bombing, he was pulled over for driving without a license plate. And one of the reasons they took him into custody, aside from driving without a license plate, was that he had an unregistered firearm on his person, which was not illegal at the time. So
after he just blew up a federal fucking building.
They didn't realize that it was him until like the next day, I think.
And to even speak to how evil that fucking man was, do you know what his last words were?
No, but I know what his last meal was. 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And first of all, anybody who eats mint chocolate chip ice cream is just a sociopath immediately. 168 people died in the Oklahoma City bombing. And this man was like, let me get some ice cream before you guys put me under. These were the last words of Timothy McVeigh. He read a poem by Ernest Henley that goes something like, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Okay. That's a no for me. Yeah,
right?
It's always white dudes that are
That's
just
crazy.
like, yo, I'm fucking chosen by God to commit atrocities. Just fucking... Can you just like stay at home?
I've been chosen by our Lord and Savior.
Is Mercury and Gatorade? What's going on?
How old were you during the Oklahoma City bombing?
I wasn't alive.
I wasn't alive.
I was born
either.
in 96.
When I was growing up, I mean, obviously we learned about it, but it just... And have you been to the museum downtown?
I've been to the memorial. I haven't been inside the museum, but I'm going to be real. I don't remember really learning about it in school. I didn't learn about the Tulsa Race Massacre in school either.
Learned a little bit about it, but not... they didn't provide the deeper context.
Right.
They just made it seem like, oh, this man showed up, he blew up this building, and that's what it was. You know that it was connected to the Waco.
Much deeper. So, like, yeah, Davidians, obviously, fiery end, and there's actually a news interview of Timothy McVeigh down there in Waco. He's like,
Are you for real?
Yes. He said, I wanted to just come down and, like, offer my support for the Branch Davidians. He couldn't go in there. He was just kind of where the press was, further back away, because the ATF was like, don't get any closer. You don't know. Like, they have guns.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, Timothy McVeigh was really personally affected by the Waco siege. He didn't know anybody involved, I don't believe. When Timothy McVeigh was deciding where this attack was going to be, I think he looked at the FBI building in Dallas. He looked at the one in Arkansas before he ultimately decided on Oklahoma City. There's no apologizing for him. What he did was an atrocity.
But it's also hard because there's also we have conversations in this country and specifically in the state about the death penalty.
I don't really see the death penalty as a black and white issue. Mm-hmm. It's definitely more complex than that. I think there are some cases where maybe it was necessary, and the only two that I can really like say that about are Timothy McVeigh. He killed almost 200 people. That is
including
irredeemable.
Kids. Yeah.
And then Ted Bundy he escaped from prison and jail twice. Like, if they can't keep him in, like, I'm sorry, you have to go. Like, if you don't stay in the prison to atone for your crimes, you can't stay on the planet. And the death penalty was legal in Oklahoma before we were even a state. But because we weren't a state, crimes committed in Indian territory, which is what we were before we were a state, were tried in the federal courts of Kansas, Arkansas, or Texas. And you would be hanged. You would be hanged.
They were hanging people?
Yeah.
Hold on, what? That's not funny.
The gallows. Literally. No,
they were really hanging people?
They were hanging people. Yeah.
Like literally. The Handmaid's Tale.
Like the gallows. Like, you get on up there. Your time is done. First hanging death was in, I think it's 1930, and that's when electrocution became. Why are you laughing about this?
Like, these are like the worst ways to kill people. It's like, oh, we're gonna hang you. We're gonna electrocute you.
Doing the electrocuting thing for a while because
it's not funny. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's terrible.
It's terrible. It's horrible. That's our shock response. Firing squad was also legal for a while. It's still legally an option in Oklahoma.
That's what I thought.
But yeah, judges are typically like, we're not going to do that. And there's been people who've requested death by firing squad.
You can request that?
Yeah, but they wouldn't let them do it because they were like, yeah, the first electrocution death was in 1930. And then that was also around the same time when they started sentencing people to death for crimes other than murder. Like, somebody was sentenced to death for aggravated robbery, which is when you rob someone with a pew pew.
Oh,
because you can't say words like that on TikTok.
Oh, how fucking terrifying it is for people who are new to the city and they hear the tornado sirens go off. They're like, the purge is happening. I'm like, no, they're just testing the weather system.
It's like, I feel like we all tap into that frequency. Like every Saturday at noon. It's different in Tulsa. In Tulsa, it's on Wednesdays.
When did you move to Oklahoma City?
2016.
Do you remember when they would do the tornado siren tests and the loud fucking voice that would speak over the?
No, I never
they
heard
stopped
that.
it. They stopped it because
we're scaring people.
It literally was like, this is a test, something, and it's like this loud ass, deep ass voice. I'm like, who is speaking? I said, is that God? It makes me think of this TED Talk. Do you watch TED? You watch
occasionally.
TED Talk? Have you done a TED Talk?
No.
Oh, I was like, Anna. Okay. Her TED Talk was basically, for me to summarize it, she was talking about how we address pedophilia in our society. Right. She said, how are we supposed to find a solution to this issue if we're so quick to either shun or make them outcasts in society? Right. And she said, because do you remember the whole debate about how pedophilia was a sexuality?
I do remember hearing that, but I had to tap out because we're not going to do that.
That's not what I'm talking about. But this is when she made this TED Talk talking about this, and so a lot of people were like outraged that she was even speaking about this just because what was going on at the time. But I got what she was saying. She was like, how are we supposed to find solutions and actually treat these sorts of issues in our society if we're not even to analyze and research and find out why this is happening?
There's no help. There's no system set in place to help people who may have those thoughts but haven't acted on them yet to prevent them from actually going that far. But a lot of the times, especially when it comes to child abuse and child sexual abuse, it's sort of a generational perpetuation of the crime, if you will. Right. Even though they were assaulted as children, they can grow up, if they'd never confronted that and addressed it either in therapy or counseling, they can grow up and sort of perpetuate that same harm. And the cycle just continues and repeats itself. That's not always the case, but a lot of the times it can be. A little bit more on the death penalty. So in 1976 or 77, I think it was 76, the Supreme Court basically said, the death penalty can constitute as cruel and unusual punishment. I think specifically because at the time, the main form of death, or a popular one, that was starting to get phased out was electrocution, the electric chair. And that's not an immediate death. Like, that takes a while. And so the Supreme Court said, okay, it's up to the states to decide if they're going to continue with capital punishment or not. And so Oklahoma, a few years later, the governor at the time, David Boren, he convened a special legislative session to reinstate the death penalty in Oklahoma. And then by that point, I think executions after that didn't resume until 1990. But still, we've killed a lot of people here.
Well, something that has really bothered me with our criminal justice system and our justice system in general is that it doesn't matter really whether you're innocent or guilty. It matters what you can prove and who has the best argument in court.
Right.
And when it comes to conversations about the death penalty, it's not like the fucking Divergent series where they can trank you and make you thank me for my fucking candor. Like, we don't live in a society like that. Like, we're literally going based off like witness testimony, evidence, and other stuff. And it's like so many people get thrown underneath the system who are actually innocent and then end up in positions like facing the death penalty.
Well,
So
funny enough, J.J. Humphrey, who I mentioned earlier, he held an interim study either last week or the week before, sort of just like analyzing the death penalty in Oklahoma. And one of his conclusions that came out of the study was, why do we have a pardon and parole board that recommends clemency if the governor does not take that advice into consideration whenever he's the only one that has the power to grant clemency and exoneration for people on Oklahoma's death row? And the only instance that I can think of in recent history where he did take their recommendation was with Julius Jones, and he didn't exonerate him. He granted him clemency from the death penalty, but he still now has to continue to complete a life sentence
without parole.
For a crime that still has reasonable doubt surrounding it. So the day that Julius Jones was set to be executed, before Governor Stitt was like, oh, we're not going to do that. You know, I've prayed on it. He's always praying on it. And I'm like, how can you pray about killing somebody and then still kill them in the end? Because he said the same thing with the last person to be executed in Oklahoma, which was Emmanuel Littlejohn, which is like, that's also my last name. We're not related at all, but it kind of hit different hearing the story. And this man has a mental disability. He's not all there cognitively. And so how can you, in good faith, execute somebody who doesn't really completely understand the magnitude of the crime that they committed? The day that Julius Jones was set to be executed, it was what? He was supposed to be executed around like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Yeah. And we, like, Stitt didn't announce the news until noon.
Yeah, it was like an hour before.
This man is literally like in the death chamber, in the like waiting area, had his last meal, had his last phone calls, and you're waiting literally second by second to find out if the governor is going to show you mercy or not.
We were down in front of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. There were journalists with the stations that were about to go in to be witnesses to the execution.
Because Ty and I were in work mode that day, but the reason we do this work and we were doing journalism, I guess, in that capacity is because we cared so much about the issue that we wanted to do what was in our power and what we were good at in order to, I guess, further the advocacy work of others. But we were all down in McAllister together. It was maybe like 100 of us, give or take, maybe more.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, I feel like there were more.
Because we had gone down to McAllister twice. One was just for a protest, and we were outside the penitentiary, and JB called Julius on his phone, and Julius was like, we can hear you guys from inside. And that's just like a chilling moment. And also, as we were marching down to the penitentiary, there was another building where there were inmates, and I don't know if it's an overflow building or what, but we saw them in the windows, and they were like, we were cheering each other on. And it's just crazy because a lot of the times when you enter the prison system in Oklahoma, depending on your crime and depending on, you know, your family, you are truly left to your own. Even if your family continues to keep in touch with you, visitations were difficult at the time because of COVID. And you have to pay to call people. You have to have people put money on your books so you can call people.
And when we were on FaceTime, you said that now they've changed it to where
you don't actually send physical mail to prisoners anymore. You send it, and I'm not sure if it's an email format, but you send it as an email, and then they print it out and give it to them for you. And that the prisoners have to pay for that. The inmates have to pay for getting their own mail, which is just crazy in the time of 2024. There's a really good joint project by the Frontier and the Marshall Project. It just came out maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe a few days. My timelines are not great, but they did a sort of a co-investigative project that explored the prison systems and the jail systems in Oklahoma and countrywide. And I think I talked about it a bit last week, but there's a medical provider that the jails often use. A lot of jails in Oklahoma use them, called Turnkey Health. That's what the Oklahoma County Jail would contract with, and also the Cleveland County Jail. But they don't do a good job. Long story short, they don't do a good job. And you have these people going into the jails who already have pre-existing conditions or have pre-existing mental illness. And so they go into the jail. And one of the biggest, I guess, examples of this would be Shannon Hanchett. Mm-hmm. I think that's how you say her name. She was a business owner in Norman. And she had a mental health episode at, it was either an AT&T, T-Mobile, insert, service provider here. She had a mental breakdown and she called the police because she was, I think, experiencing delusions. And instead of the police offering help, they arrested her. And then she was in jail for maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple days. And she inevitably died in the jail because she wasn't given the help that she needed. And her family is sort of kind of pointing the blame towards Turnkey Health, because those are supposed to be the so-called medical providers for the detainees in the jail. And they weren't offering her the services that she needed. They weren't giving her the help that she needed. And Cleveland County has had 5 deaths in 2024 alone, which is relatively high for a not huge county jail. Oklahoma County, it was like it's been a little bit quiet recently, but in 2021, it was like every single month somebody was dying in the jail. Sometimes 2 people were dying in the jail. I believe
at one point here recently, the Oklahoma County Jail had a higher mortality rate than Rikers. Thank you so much for listening so far. We ran into some technical difficulties with this episode because we shot for over 2.5 hours, and the video is still processing. So we are just going to upload this part 1, and you can stay tuned for part 2, which should be uploaded here in a couple days. Again, thank you so much for listening to 23rd and Dissent, and we'll catch you next time.